Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Felipe speaking from Second Earth Alternative. So yeah, we have moved from sunny California to the other sunny state of Florida, well, at least temporarily, but that's not going to stop us from putting out episodes. And look, I just want to start off this episode by saying that I got, when I came here, I had to basically sell off my car. So I actually have no more vehicles, or I didn't have a vehicle for transportation until I got this guy, which, oh my goodness, this thing is literally one of the most fun things I've ever ridden. And just to kind of showcase what I'm talking about, take a look. Beautiful day. So this is the river that I am staying near, and yeah, man, I mean, can't get better than this. It's so just gorgeous out here. So what I was thinking is, what a great time to try some off-roading. Carve it. Woo-wee. It's like surfing, baby, surfing in the ground. But I'm sure you didn't come here for electric vehicles. The main topic that I want to talk about was cattle mutilation. And we have a very, high strangeness type of story. It says here, this interesting article, I believe this is like local papers from Oregon, and it says Capital Press, investigators bewildered by death, mutilation of Oregon cow. Now, what makes this case so interesting is that not are we just talking about a cattle mutilation, but we're talking about one that has kind of unprecedented characteristics, mainly how the cow was discovered, essentially. And as you can see from the picture over here, it is basically standing on its own front legs in a way that the ranchers said is basically impossible. So reading further, it says here, authorities are investigating the death and mutilation of yet another cow, this time on rangeland near Fossil, Oregon. And the culprit may have a clue, a boot print. I want to get back to this because it doesn't really quite make sense. I guess they're just looking for the most mundane explanation possible. But reading on, the Black Angus cow, a breeding animal worth about $1,000, was found July 23rd dead and mutilated, tongue, genitals, and reproductive organs cut out. Her carcass was found upright, front legs tucked underneath, a position investigators say they haven't seen before. The cause of death is unknown, and authorities told the Capital Press the case is ongoing. She died in a position she couldn't have gotten into by herself. I don't have any kind of logical explanation for it, said David Hunt, owner of the Hunt Ranch and a partner producer for Painted Hills Natural Beef Incorporated. There was definitely foul play involved in this animal's death, said Deputy Jeremiah Holmes of the Wheeler County Sheriff's Office. This isn't the first time Hunt has lost an animal to mysterious mutilations. Last December, he found a dead bull in the snow with its nose, lips, ear, tongue, tail, and genitals removed and the blood drained. Deputy Holmes said he worked on that case too with no leads. So just to stop here for a second, we're talking about one rancher who apparently has had 2 separate cattle mutilation cases. kind of interesting. You'd think that maybe he would have put a camera after the first one. Of course, I don't know how big his ranch is, but reading further, Hunt isn't the only rancher to lose an animal this way. FBI case files recorded thousands of killings and mutilations of cattle across the U.S. since the 1970s. The animals are usually found with the same body parts missing, and no culprit has ever been arrested. And I think this last sentence where it says no culprit has ever been arrested, yet these huge animals that sometimes can even kill bears, that they are just mysteriously caught up with no blood, no signs of struggle. It just defies all logical explanations when you think about how this could even be possible. Hunt said he found the cow when he visited the pasture, as he does once a week, at a spot about a half a mile from the nearest road. He said he immediately called the sheriff's office. Holmes said that it's hard to tell how the cow died. By the time authorities arrived, the animal had likely been dead a few days, past the window to perform a necropsy. The tongue and genital wounds were clean cut, said Holmes, not by a wild animal, but Hunt noted the wounds weren't as clean cut as those of his bull last winter. So I guess Mr. Hunt is making the analysis that because it wasn't as clean cut, that maybe this was made by some person, because as it says down here, how the cow died is a mystery. There were no dart punctures, no bullets, no strangulation marks, no rope burns, no tire tracks, no signs of poison. In previous cases, people have speculated culprits may be cult members, satanic worshippers, even aliens. But something makes this case unique. Deputy Holmes told the Capitol Press that officers found a partial boot print about 100 yards away from the carcass. It's like, to me, you have thousands of cattle mutilation cases. This rancher has already come across one, but now he's claiming this second one is not as clean cut, and now they found quote unquote evidence. So whereas up here it states that mutilations of cattle across the U.S. since the 1970s, the animals are usually found with the same body parts missing, and no culprit has ever been arrested. So this thing has been happening for over 5 decades, half a century. Nobody has ever been arrested, but somehow they believe that they finally found a clue, a footprint 100 yards away. Now here's what's kind of funny about this. As we continue, it's possible it was the rancher's own prints. Oh my goodness. Okay, but Hunt says he hasn't stepped out his vehicle in the area for a long time, though apparently he has before. It didn't look like his boot, okay? And Holmes said wind and rain would have likely covered over the prints by now if he had. The print, he said, appears fresh. The case continues. I didn't say when my bull died last winter, said Hunt, but this time the cops wanted permission to publicize so many people can keep their eyes open. I say, all right, tell anyone you want. It won't bring my dead cow, but maybe we'll catch the killer. Or maybe not, unless you have a spaceship. I know I might be sounding crazy when I talk about aliens as being the number one explanation, but let's just use Occam's razor for a second. You have had hundreds, if not thousands, of cattle mutilation. Some of them, according to Linda Moulton Howe, were shown to have been dropped from hundreds of feet in the air, as it actually created a small crater. And this rancher has already experienced a cattle mutilation before, and then the second one, he finds a footprint that could be his. So Occam's razor, what's the simplest explanation? That this footprint that could be his is actually his? Or the idea that this footprint becomes the first evidence that has ever been encountered in 50 years of cattle mutilation. And, mind you, if we just take a look at the picture real quick, there's no blood. I mean, we're talking about an animal that weighs substantially, way beyond anything that even a couple people could carry. So if you have no signs of struggle, no blood whatsoever, just clean precision cuts, no evidence has ever been uncovered, no arrests have ever been made, why would you think that now you've suddenly found your quote-unquote evidence? I think, this kind of speaks to the kind of high strangeness of these cases and the willingness of people to not really float their heads into this belief that, oh my goodness, this might actually be something that we can't explain, something that is beyond this world. And I know if we want to talk about scientific ideas, we should always look for the simplest explanation. But once again, I was using Occam's razor before in saying that there are thousands of these cases, and the simplest explanation, if nobody has been arrested, is that it may not even be human. Because you think that somebody would have been caught by now. And why is it that all of the cattle mutilations are perfect? Why is it that all of them happen to have no blood? It's like, where they haven't even found one where they kind of screwed up and there might have been like half blood here. Or, you would think at some point somebody would have made a mistake. But also something else I want to point out, if you look at the picture over here, look at the grass. So they were able to take this giant bowl, rip it apart, genitals, all these body parts out of, cut off from the bowl. They were then able to stack the bowl in this position with no blood whatsoever and have this perfectly lying grass as if it's, nothing happened here. So what, did they use a crane? Did they use a lift? Why didn't they find the tire tracks for the crane? Why didn't they find the tire tracks for the pickup truck if that's how they carry the cow out? So these are just some basic questions that I think people need to confront when dealing with these cattle mutilation cases. It's shocking enough to find an animal of that size with no blood. But when you find no signs of struggle, no tire tracks, and then you find a footprint 100 yards away, and that could be yours, you're gonna now jump and say, oh no, this footprint is the proof that this cow, that something happened to this cow. This is how do you call it? It's like a form of cognitive dissonance. It's like the person's not really putting together all the facts in one contiguous understanding concept, for example. Now, what I went ahead is I took this image and I put it on Photoshop, and I'm not going to promise you that we're going to find anything revolutionary, but I did want to show you something that I thought was kind of interesting. When I kind of started playing around with the channels, well, check out what happens over here. And let's see if you guys notice this. Ladies and gentlemen, are you seeing that? What in the world is this? You don't see it in the original, or it's very difficult to see, but definitely it looks like this almost surgical perfection in terms of a triangle that you see in its chest. And once again, we'll do a different version. Here it is again. Not really sure if that's significant. It's just something I didn't expect to see. And I thought that maybe I should share it to the audience. If somebody is more experienced with this subject, perhaps somebody knows what this could be. I think for the people who are into ufology, one of the most respected figures in this field is Linda Moulton Howe. And if you ever hear her stories, it's pretty amazing because she was an investigative journalist from Stanford. And out of all the things that could have possibly pulled her, gravitated her to the subject of ufology, whether from flying saucers, Bob Lazar, to ancient cultures, it was this. It was her trying to investigate cattle mutilation and talking to the sheriff, and the sheriff essentially hinting to her that, I don't think this comes from this world. That was the spark that led her into her journey into the subject of UFOs and aliens. So we should be looking at cattle mutilation not as an aberration or some random satanic cult, but as a genuine phenomenon that has been entrenched and associated with the subject of UFOs and aliens. Anyways, thank you so much for following me. I will be trying to come out with a few more episodes before I head out of the country. And don't forget to leave your comments and thoughts below. This is Felipe speaking, signing out.